Good morning Michigan.
صباح الخير ميشيغان.
احنا هنبتدي الحلقة النهاردة بفضل شاكر.
لا يا سامح، نحن حنبتدي الحلقة فيروز.
نبتدي بفضل شاكر؟
لا يا سامح فيروز.
ما كانت امبارح فيروز؟
سامح التراديشن تبع البرنامج كل يوم ببلش فيروز.
تراديشن دي انجليزي؟
انجليزي يا سامح، وهو ده اللي عندنا.
طب بس عندنا حاجة مختلفة النهاردة.
صباح الخير وكل الخير يهدي لك صباحات.
صباح الخير ميشيغان.
جود مورنينج ميشيغان.
الأغنية، الخبر، التقرير والموضوع،
وفي كل مجال سيكون دائما لكم الاختيار.
صباح الورد، صباح الفل، صباح النور، صباح الخير، صباح.
Good morning and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem, editor of wnzk.com. Today is Thursday and it's August 1st. Thank you for being with us. The election we had an election on August 4th, and we had quite a bit of candidates. Turnout was not that great, but, this is the first time that we've had candidates from, local candidates, a good record number, I believe, and it was very good. We're going to be talking about that today. Also, we're going to be talking about different topics later on in the program. We're hoping that, this is going to be a good day for you. The temperature today is in the low 70s right now. We could reach in the 80s later. It's a beautiful day. It's a summer day. We wish you the best of health, wealth, and happiness. Number here is 248-557-3300. Give us a call should you have a question or a comment in Arabic or in English. We thank you for being with us. Just let us know what's on your mind. What's on your mind this morning? In the overall news, Pelosi just finished a trip to Taiwan, and that has angered the Chinese. I don't know. I've said this before. If you were with us, join us on the show the other day. If you're listening, I don't understand why would somebody like Pelosi would take a trip to aggravate that situation between the U.S. and China. There was a time when politicians used to work to make things better, not worse. This has been really trying times with, the United States taking an active role in the war in the Ukraine, and basically, I don't want to say causing. I don't think what the Russians did and what President Putin did is justified attacking another country, but with the U.S. pushing very hard for Ukraine to become a member of NATO at the time when they knew that Russia could attack, and now most of the weapons that being diverted to Ukraine to fight in that war, it's just unbelievable. Can you imagine all of that money is being spent for a good cause? It's just really, really amazing. Wars very costly, very destructive, and they don't really solve many issues. They create more problems and don't solve many issues. I grew up in a country where there was a war, and the country is still really not recovering at all. We're going to be talking about this more later on, but now, we're going to talk about the local elections and how it went in this area. And this is, again, the turnout was low, but, what can we do? We try in this community to encourage more and more people to vote, yet we're not as successful as we should be. And with us this morning is our friend Imad Hamad, Executive Director of HERC. And good morning, Hamad.
Good morning, Khalil, to you and to your listeners.
Thank you so much. And HRC is the American Human Rights Council. Imad has been around for some time, has been active in the area and in human rights, and in various issues. Imad, overall, what are your take on the local election?
Well, it is the unfortunate fact that we always deal with this ongoing same challenge of low turnout when it comes to primary elections in general. It became like a typical traditional thing, which is totally wrong. I think registered voters, fellow citizens, for some reason or another, they don't feel as excited to participate in the primary elections, in the local elections, as it should be. And this is really deadly wrong, because primary elections is more important in many ways, even than the general elections, because it's the filter that filter the several candidates who are running and give the voter the opportunity to choose who's the most qualified, so to continue the race on the general election. Unfortunately, despite all efforts, still this is a challenge. And this is a challenge, by the way, is not limited to any certain community in particular. It's a challenge within the American society. It's a challenge all over. It varies from area to another, but overall it continues to be low. I think this is a challenge that merits serious review, especially from those in charge, those who are part of this network, community organization, community-based organization. It needs more education, more awareness. Every election, we come to say the same thing. We come to note the same thing. We come to repeat ourselves that we find no reason why people should not participate and actively participate. We understand that voting is not only a right, it's a precious civic duty, and we are all ought to practice it. Unfortunately, after any election, people start complaining. And you know what? It's mind-boggling, because people had the choice to render the right decision, to choose the right candidate. Voting is not about race, faith, or what have you. Voting is about integrity of the candidate, honesty of the candidate, the candidate stance on issues of a prime interest and concern to the community at large. This is what matters. And now, after the elections, some people come and say, "Oh, I'm not happy here. I'm angry here." People who don't vote, unfortunately, they lose their right to complain. Simple, loud and clear. Because those who voted, they made the choice on behalf of all others who did not vote.
It's really interesting that I normally tell people the same thing. Don't complain, because if you didn't vote, you lost your right to complain. What can we do to educate our community to vote? To participate better. Well,
I think that's the million-dollar question nowadays. I think we go back, yourself, myself, and many others who've been working hard, trying to educate fellow citizens on the importance of active participation. It's getting better. It's improving. I know that community or voters do better, participate better in the general election. But still, they're missing a golden opportunity, which is the primary elections, which is the local elections. Like we all witness, when it is a presidential election, people get motivated, people move forward, and people are paying money. Candidates are paying money. Candidates, even in the primary elections, they paid big money, and we witnessed many tight, heated races here locally in Michigan, which money was a huge factor, despite the fact that the turnout was low. Because these primary results, maybe it's the winning card. There are certain races, like for example, slave race and her winning is a win for the general election. So she's not going to have any issue or a challenge to be defeated or what have you. So in many other races, yes, it is a determining factor. So we need not to give up. We need to keep dwelling on that. We need to find the creative ways to connect with people. It's that apathy and malaise. It combined with...
تخيل أنك تقف على مسار قطار بعيد عنك، لكنه يتجه إليك. لا يمكنك رؤيته، لكنه قادم إليك بالتأكيد. إذا كنت في مرحلة ما قبل السكري أو معرضا لخطر الإصابة بالسكري من النوع الثاني، فقد تكون على المسار الخاطئ، وقد يصل إليك مرض السكري. لا تقف على المسار الخاطئ، بل غير طريقك وتجنبه. إذا كنت في مرحلة ما قبل السكري أو معرضا لخطر الإصابة بالسكري من النوع الثاني، فقد تكون مؤهلا للبرنامج الوطني للوقاية من مرض السكري ضمن مجتمعك المحلي. سيمنحك البرنامج ولمدة عام كامل الدعم المستمر لتعود إلى المسار الصحيح. لم يفقد المشاركون الوزن فحسب، بل قللوا من خطر إصابتهم بالسكري من النوع الثاني إلى النصف. هل أنت مستعد للانضمام إلى مستقبل أكثر صحة؟ اعرف المزيد عن البرنامج الوطني للوقاية من مرض السكري وإمكانية التعامل معه. قم بزيارة michigan.gov/diabetes. رسالة من وزارة الصحة والخدمات الإنسانية في ولاية ميشيغان.
تحس إنه إيديك عم تنمل أو كتفك عم يجمد أو أصابعك عم تورم وما عم تقدر تشتغل فيهم مثل ما بتريد؟ مرحبا، أنا الدكتور عبد المجيد قطرنجي. زورونا بموقعنا الإلكتروني www.katranjihandcenter.com لتتعرفوا على كيفية العلاجات لإصابات اليد والكتف والكوع، وإن شاء الله تقدروا تشاركونا بافتتاح مركزنا الجديد في تروي ميشيغان، ونتمنى لكم العفو والعافية.
للمواعيد زورونا في عيادتنا الواقعة على 1565 في مدينة تروي البناء F، أو اتصلوا بنا على الرقم 248-869-4263. That's 248-869-4263.
العطاء قصة رائعة، بدايتها إنسان يهتم ونهايتها إنسان يحتاج. مؤسسة الحياة للإغاثة والتنمية، ومنذ أكثر من 25 عاما تحمل عطاءك إلى من يستحقه ويحتاجه، بغض النظر عن الجنس أو العرق أو الدين. فأينما تكون الحاجة تجد الحياة تقدم المساعدة الطبية والملاجئ وبناء المدارس والأوار الارتوازية وبرامج كفالة عوائل اللاجئين والأيتام وغيرها حسب الحاجة. للمساعدة في استمرار هذا الجهد الكبير، امنح تبرعك المعفى من الضرائب اليوم إلى منظمة الحياة للإغاثة والتنمية عبر الموقع www.lifeusa.org أو الاتصال على الرقم المجاني 1-800-827-3543.
على مر السنين بنفتخر بالجودة العالية لمنتجاتنا. دانو جبنة عربية 100%، كنافة شهية على أصول، ولبنة ولا أطيب من هيك من خيرات الطبيعة. دانا منتجات فاخرة، جودة ومذاق. دانا للأصالة عنوان.
Welcome back and thank you for being with us. Imad, I want to apologize to you. We lost connection. Both of us were doing the interview from remote areas, from homes. So, thank you for being with us again. We're talking to Imad Hamad. We're talking about the local elections. And before we went to break, we were talking about the low turnout and what we can do. Imad, I noticed something that, certain people in the community, when it's convenient for them, they can really turn out the votes. And when it's not convenient for them, they just, they ignore it. And then we suffer even more lower turnout. Do you see the same thing? Or, I just don't see the consistency from some people in, pushing for the participation.
Very true. I think, politics are politics, and each group does have their own agenda. They have their own platform. Yes, indeed, this is not a helping factor, because it makes the participation of the election or the being active to promote and advocate for active participation hostage to the narrow agendas of certain groups here and there. And this is normal. It's part of our unfortunate reality when it comes to elections and politics. Definitely, this is a challenge, part of the problem, as much as it is part of the solution. We have a crisis called low turnouts, low participation, primarily during the primary elections. And yes, even the presidential, if it wasn't hot enough and it's not of great interest to certain groups here and there, it reflects how much they invest and how much they work to motivate people and give incentive to people to participate. However, I think the issue is bigger than all of us. It's across the nation and across all communities, regardless regardless of ethnicity, regardless of faith, etc. The Arab and Muslim American community in particular does have a vital stake here because most of these local elections are held within the highest concentrations of Arab Americans. And it is very unfortunate to see such a style of work and instead of educating the public, pushing the public to participate, regardless who the voters are going to vote for. That's the beauty of our democracy. Unfortunately, sometimes we take it for granted and sometimes we abuse using it.
Absolutely. I don't want to keep harping on this, but it kind of pains me. I went to vote at noon, and where I voted, there was only 27 people. And on my way to vote, I walked from my home to the voting poll. I encountered more than 27 people on the street. So hopefully we can work more for more education, specifically among the young. I talked to quite a few young people, and it's like, oh, today there's election. They didn't even know there was election. It's really, really, really sad. Hopefully we can do better next time.
Khalil, you look at the community centers, you see them full. I was standing at one of the polls supervising the elections, and I looked across the street. There were a huge supermarket full of customers, full, packed, jammed. And I looked at the polling sites. I see nobody, almost just some volunteers who are trying to work out, trying to attract voters to vote. So it's really ironic and it's really challenging. And that attests to the fact that we still have a long journey to go. And this is our common responsibility. Unfortunately, we go back to the magical reason behind this, which is politics, especially group interests and conflicts and different agendas. And I think that this is something we cannot do much about it. This is part of the democratic process in Michigan as well as in any other state.
Absolutely. As far as local elections, were you surprised? Were there any surprises there?
To myself, no. I didn't see any surprises. I think all the outcome of the elections met the expectations. We always call elections crazy elections. It's not about predictions, and sometimes it comes unpredicted. I think this particular primary came no surprise whatsoever. I think the most heated races, Andy Levin versus Haley Stevens, that it was expected that Haley Stevens was ahead of Andy Levin. It's unfortunate, but that's the voter choice. We have to respect it. Also, the race in the 13th district, which pro-Israeli lobby spent millions of dollars, but at the end of the day, Shri, who won that primary on behalf of the Democratic Party, was not part of this money campaign, and he's not a bad candidate, generally speaking. And then you have Rashida Tlaib, who also faced a tough, heated race in Detroit, Dearborn, etc. And she prevailed to be, a strong candidate with maybe the biggest number of votes as well. And that's attests to the fact that why in this area people voted and gave a huge number of votes versus other districts, which was very, very, very low. So here, the candidate campaigns make a difference. The candidate ability to connect with people and work on a grassroots level, it's very important. Money is important, but at the same time, actual votes is as important. And each candidate who masters the interaction and invest good with the money and the voters, most likely they get their way ahead and move forward. So I think the races overall were expected, no surprises. And I assume that the general election, which I urge the community at large, regardless who they vote for, they need to move forward. They need to focus on the next stage. I think the governor race is going to be heated. I think Whitmer versus Dixer is going to be one tough race, and every vote counts, and people need to get ready and generate energy to make a difference in the upcoming election for the final general election on November.
Absolutely. With Sri winning, that leaves Detroit with no black representation in Congress since the 1950s. That's a huge.
Definitely. I think that this is a very sharp and a real observation. I think many black Americans are upset about it, although the black American vote did play a difference in choosing who the candidate in District 12 and District 13 primarily, which they represent Detroit at large. And you're right, I think the two candidates here, Tlaib and Shri, are people of color. So they are not far from the main domain, but you're right. I think African Americans tried to be part of this mix, tried to claim back John Conyers' seat and Brenda Lawrence's seat. But again, this is voters' choice. Voters voted, voters decided, and we have to respect it.
Absolutely. Jerry is on the line. Good morning, Jerry.
To you, Mr. Khalil. Thank you for taking my call, and good morning to your guest,
Absolutely.
Mr. Imad Hamad. My question for you, Mr. Imad Hamad, the primary is over on August the 2nd. The question is, what do you think, Mr. Imad Hamad, which party of the aisle did better in this primary, Republic or Democrat or Independent? That's my first question. The second question is the Arab American voters did their homework. And the third question, Mr. Imad Hamad, what is your advice for the Arab candidate to do in the future? Because I discussed that a few days ago with Mr. Khalil Hachem, that our Arab American candidate, with my respect to them, they keep themselves isolated from the local Middle Eastern Arab media. So what's your advice? How do you talk to them about this? I appreciate your answer. Thanks to you. Thanks to Mr. Khalil Hachem, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Jerry.
Well, thank you, sir. I think you bring, I think he brings three important observations, three important questions, three important challenges, actually. I think the Republican Party, the GOP, and the Democratic Party in Michigan are generating power, generating heat. And I think the both did well, excellent in the primary election. Both parties showed that they're ready to go. And that's why I think the race, the governor race, is going to be a very tight and heated one. So it depends on the ability of each party, the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, how much they can generate vote and gain the votes of the undecided. I think the undecided voters here are going to play an instrumental, vital, determining factor. And I think with the crisis that our nation is coping with, so it could lean toward the Republican more than the Democratic. But it's too early, it's premature, things change on a daily basis, but it's going to be a tough race for between the the GOP, Republicans, and the Democrats. The second question, did the Arab Americans do their homework, candidates do their homework? I think they try. They try. It depends on the financial resources they have. And sometimes even if they have the financial resources, unfortunately, they become selective. And I agree that sometimes, in many cases, they take the Arab American ethnic media for granted, and sometimes they become selective, and they pick and choose who they want to invest with. And this melts down to the personal relations, the connections between the candidate and the media outlets. Personalities, unfortunately, play a role, and that's wrong. That's wrong, because what counts to the candidate should be his or her ability to connect with every single voter within the Arab American community at large. Some people are choosy about it. We cannot do much about it. But yes, I think there is a challenge here, and these candidates should invest better with the Arab American ethnic media. What was the third question?
That was basically his third question is how, he doesn't think that the candidates participate or reach out to the local media, such as, this radio and others, and make their voice heard and make their platform.
Yeah, that's what I answered. No, I think he mentioned something else. The Democratic Party, the Republican Party race, and the candidates and Arab American media. But I don't know I blanked the third one.
That's okay. We'll leave it to that. Is there anything I haven't asked you that of a concern or people need to know about this election?
Well, I think, elections went smooth with no major issues or concerns. I think with the exception of one incident at Mabel Elementary School, Mead and Dearborn, where one candidate really was disrespectful and unprofessional, tried to cause disturbance simply because he's in competition with another candidate. It was appalling to see such a conduct from someone who calls himself a candidate for a public office. Other than that, I think people tried. I salute and thank all people who participated, who voted, absentee and in person. Keep in mind that the absentee ballots, the absentee vote made a big difference in the results, more than the actual voting on August 2nd. And that's a learning experience. That's a very important issue here that needs to take care of and tap on it in a more serious way. And I see great progress on that, because if you look at the results of these local elections, the absentee ballots made a big difference and always make a big difference. So I thank the volunteers who worked the polls, and I thank everyone who really practiced this civic duty. We cannot make the change. We cannot render the change if we only talk and we don't walk the walk. Time is overdue for us to walk the walk and cast our votes and be part of the process and practice this precious civic duty.
Imad, thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate you taking the time early this morning, and we thank all your input.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Good luck. Best wishes.
Thanks a lot. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
مراكز IVF ميشيغان للخصوبة وأطفال الأنابيب الرواد في مجال الطب التناسلي تعلن عن استقبال مراجعيها في بلومفيلد هيلز ومراكزها المنتشرة في ميشيغان وأوهايو، حيث يتواجد أمهر الأخصائيين لتقديم الاستشارات في جميع مجالات التلقيح الصناعي. يعتبر الدكتور نيكولاس شما أحد أهم الأخصائيين في الغدد الصماء التناسلية في ولايتي ميشيغان وأوهايو، حيث أجرى أكثر من 10,000 عملية طفل أنبوب وساعد الآلاف من الأزواج على تحقيق حلم الأبوة. يحمل الدكتور شما شهادة البورد الأمريكي في كل من أمراض النساء والتوليد، أمراض الغدد الصماء التناسلية والعقم، رعاية طبية ممتازة وتفهم عميق للأثر العاطفي والنفسي لحالة العقم. للاستفسار اتصلوا على 248-952-9600 248-952-9600. قشات ميديترينيان ماركت بإدارة سهر قشات وأولاده يرحبون بالجالية العربية والكلدانية. جميع أنواع المواد الغذائية، البان طازجة، الكرزات والبهارات الطازجة. داخل الأسواق مطعم ميديترينيان شيش كباب يقدم يوميا جميع أنواع الكباب، المقبلات العربية العراقية وصواني الكامبو المميزة. تفتح الأسواق من 8 إلى 9 مساء من الاثنين وحتى السبت، ومن 8 صباحا إلى 9 مساء يوم الأحد. تقع الأسواق على 32839 نورث ويسترن هايوي في مدينة فارمينغتون هيلز. لحوم حلال للجالية الإسلامية. لطلباتكم من المطعم كول 248-538-7855. That is 248-538-7855. قشة ميديترينيان ماركت، خدمة متميزة ومعاملة راقية.
حكي معونه فهم في العين وافهم كمان في.
ومن بمثل خبرة الدكتور عماد نقاش أستاذ الطب وجراحة العيون في جامعة وين، خبرة طويلة في التعامل مع أمراض العيون وجراحتها، عمليات تعديل وتصفية النظر، إزالة الماء الأبيض والأسود، الجلوكوما، وتصحيح النظر من أثار مرض السكر. كادر متخصص ومتدرب لخدمتكم. شعبة متخصصة للنظارات الطبية والهندسة اللاصقة. يقبلون معظم أنواع التأمين الصحي. زوروهم في عيادتهم الواقعة على جنار والناين مايل في مدينة هيزل بارك. للمواعيد اتصلوا على 248-336-3937 248-336-3937 أو عيادتهم في راجستر هولز. للمعلومات اتصلوا على 248-299-3937 248-299-3937.
شايفك لازم قاعد حالك عن
إلي ساعة عم بستناك مشان نروح نتغدى بالشام.
الشام؟
إيه بالشام ومو بالشام.
شلون صارت هي؟
بدل ما نروح نتغدى بالشام
ايه
جابوا لنا الأكلات الشامية الطيبة لعنا لهم.
وشلون بقى؟
هذا مطعم دماس عم يعمل كل الأكلات الشامية الطيبة هو.
وطيبة؟
طيبة كتير.
شرفوا نتغدى سوا بمطعم دماس.
الأكل الشامي الأصيل فقط بدماس كوزين. زوروهم على 28841 أورشد ليك بفارمينغتون هيلز. ولطلباتكم اتصلوا على 248-987-4609. That's 248-987-4609. دماس كوزين and catering، جبنا لكم الشام لعندكم.
Welcome back and thank you for being with us. We were talking earlier with Imad Hamad about the local elections, and again, we hope that next time we learn from it, and then we get more and more people interested in voting. In this community, we get to the point where we have enough people interested in running for office, and when I look at it now, at the ballots now, and I see so many names of Middle Eastern descent, and then looking back 20 years ago or 25 years ago, where you didn't even see maybe one, and which is really, really good. It means that people are interested. They want to partake in this democracy, and it's a good thing. Now we need to get more and more people interested in voting. Keep in mind that even if you don't like anybody on the ballot, still go ahead and vote. Voting participation, it shows that this community is active. It puts us on the political map. It's very important. And there's no excuse, because you can vote anytime. You don't have to wait till election day. You can vote, and because Michigan has become an open primary, I think that's the term in which you can vote. You don't need a reason to vote absentee. You can stop by the city, or you can request a ballot to come to your home and you can vote. So there is really no excuse. We just need to educate our community more on this. And nationwide, we've seen something very interesting. What happened in Arkansas, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, one of these states, southern states, who is fairly conservative, and then they voted. They voted to uphold abortion. And abortion is not the issue here. The issue here is that people don't want the Supreme Court to really tell them or alter the Constitution, in which, if you recall, the Supreme Court did cancel Roe versus Wade, and that was huge. So this tells us a few things. Number one, that people still want to preserve their rights, regardless of whether we agree with it or not. Number two, people don't feel that the Supreme Court really represents the nation. And then number four, we're gonna see more and more issues decided at the ballot because people do not trust politicians and they do not trust the system. So and if you take a look at nationwide, there are a lot more issues that we see in which they're being decided at the ballot, which is there shouldn't be. These should be decided, either in Congress or at the legislative level or the people we elect. Election is about selecting people, hiring people to do to work for us, to do our job. So this is really what's important about the local elections, and it's very important that we hire the right people, we pay them money, and then we practice our democracy. And this is the time where we select these guys, to men and women, to represent us, and basically we're hiring them. They're not better than us. Yes, they get a little bit more publicity, they become famous, whatever it is, but at the end of the day, they work for us. And if we live in a country and a system in which if we don't like them, then we can replace them. Okay, it's very important that we select the right people. And to select the right people, first, we have to encourage our community to field good candidates and more candidates to give us choice. And then we have to do our homework, and then we have to encourage our people to vote. This is something very, very, very important to do, and hopefully we'll do more of that. I do want to talk about another topic, and we're having some technical issues. We're waiting for our second guest to be able to call in and log in, and so we can get on with the topic of the interest rate and the mortgage industry, how the high interest rate affecting the mortgage industry. Hopefully we will get Brigitte Hachem to be with us soon. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Hopefully we can solve that issue of connections. Please stay tuned.
New Concept Products and Design.
بإدارة ناجي عبود. هل تحتاج فتح مطعم؟ هل تحتاج فتح محل المواد الغذائية؟ هل تحتاج تصاميم وخرائط؟ اتصل بناجي عبود على الرقم 734-744-9796. هل تريد شراء معدات المطابخ والمطاعم وبأسعار مخفضة وتسهيلات بالدافع؟ اتصل بناجي عبود الآن على الرقم 734-744-9796. خصم 5% عند الشراء ب75,000 أو أكثر على كافة المواد. لمزيد من المعلومات زوروا موقعهم الإلكتروني على
www.newconceptproducts.com
أو زوروهم في موقعهم الجديد
31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia.
ناجي عبود، العلامة المميزة في عالم المطابخ. مرحبا سعيد.
اهلا علا.
ليش هالمقابلة الفاترة هاي؟ بيقول المثل لاقيني ولا تغديني.
يمه زعلتي، شنو رأيك إذا لقيتك وأيضا غديتك بأحسن مطاعم ميشيغان، مطعم عشتار؟
والله فكرة، أفضل الأطباق والمقبلات العربية والعراقية وأحلى ملقا.
ولا تنسين اللحوم الطازجة مباشرة من ملحمة عشتار لزباين عشتار. وملحمة عشتار توفر اختيارات متنوعة من كافة أنواع اللحوم وبأسعار متميزة وجودة أيضا مميزة. ملحمة عشتار تقع على 36865 راين رود في مدينة جميلة جولي هايت.
وأكيد أحلى لمة وأطيب لقمة في مطعم عشتار اللي عنوانه 3625 15 مايل رود في مدينة ستيرلينغ هايت. هاتف 586-698-2585 586-698-2585.
يلا علا،
يلا عشتار للجودة وكرم الضيافة عنوان
مطعم عشتار.
ليلى ذات ال5 سنوات ووالدتها في طريقهما إلى المنزل بعد زيارة الجدة. إنها 10 مساء. تأخر الوقت لأن ليلى لم ترغب بمغادرة بيت جدتها الحبيبة. ليس بعيدا عنها يودع ديلان ذو ال25 عاما بعض الأصدقاء. يشرب آخر علبة بيرة ثم ينطلق بسيارته رغم شعوره بقليل من الدوار، لكنه متأكد بأن ذلك لن يؤثر على قيادته. كانت ليلى وأمها تغنيان مع الراديو، ومع دخول الأم المنعطف فجأة تلتقي بديلان. كل 50 دقيقة يموت شخص في الولايات المتحدة جراء حادث اصطدام يتسبب به سائق يقود تحت تأثير الكحول أو المخدرات. هذا الشخص يشبه ليلى أو أمها أو ديلان. تذكر، إن لم تكن على ما يرام فلن تكون قيادتك على ما يرام. إن لم تملك نفسك فلا تقود السيارة. اطلب من صديق أو سيارة أجرة إيصالك. لا تقود السيارة إلا وأنت واع تماما. رسالة من مكتب تخطيط السلامة على الطرق السريعة في ولاية ميشيغان.
مركز طب رهاب للعلاج الطبيعي بإدارة الدكتور محمد فرح حسين، أخصائي العلاج الطبيعي بخبرة أكثر من 13 عاما. طب رهاب يقدم خدمات العلاج الطبيعي وإعادة التأهيل، ويضم مجموعة من أفضل أخصائي التشخيص الدقيق للحالات المرضية مع خبرة عالية في التعامل مع الحالات التي تحتاج إلى إعادة تأهيل وعناية خاصة بعد العمليات والكسور. طب رهاب يستقبل كل الحالات المتعلقة بألم الرقبة، الظهر، المفاصل، شلل الوجه، الانزلاق الغضروفي، عرق النساء، الحوادث وإصابات العمل. خبيرات في المعالجة النسائية لخصوصيات تامة للسيدات. عندما تبحثون عن رعاية متميزة اقصدوا توب ريهاب للعلاج الطبيعي الواقع على 15001 ميشيغان افنيو. وللمواعيد اتصلوا على 313-846-0555. That's 846-0555.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. Again, we're going to continue the program talking about mortgage rates. And with us this morning is Brigitte Hachem. She's president of Premier One Group and a mortgage originator. She's been in the mortgage industry for over 30 years. Good morning, Ms. Hachem.
Good morning. Good morning, Khalil. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you so much for being with us. Before we talk about mortgages, you've been appointed to a special board, state board. Could you tell us about a little bit of appointment and what that board does?
Yes, I've been appointed to the State of Michigan Mortgage Industry Advisory Board, and that's in partnership with the Insurance and Financial Services for the State of Michigan. The board oversees the mortgage industry for the State of Michigan, related to originations, rules, regulations, and in cooperation with other entities like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and other real estate industries.
Wonderful. Congratulations. It's well deserved.
Yes, thank you so much, Khalil.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the Fed's increased interest rates one more time, and how is that going to affect us, and what does that mean for the buying homes?
Well, the rates have, as you know, Khalil, historically the rate, it's a cycle. They go up and down over the years, and I mentioned before when I first started in this industry. Over 30 years ago, the average fixed rate was hovering around 9.5%. And over the years, we've seen that go down up to 2%, 1.5%, and now we're up again. What's happening is inflation factors playing a lot in this, and the housing market is in high demand. And the 30-year fixed is hovering around 5.41%, The 15 years about 4.5%, and the 5-year fix is around 4.5% also. We anticipate the rate staying around 5.5% to 6%, and probably closer to 7% by the end of the year. We're not sure yet. That is affecting the housing market and the demand because there's a shock again with the rates being up that fast within a few months. But as time goes on, everybody's going to get used to the new rates, and housing is always going to be in demand. Housing is like food. You have to have a place to stay, either rent or buy, and this is a normal trend that's going to happen.
Absolutely. It's a necessity we can't really do without. You know,
definitely.
And again,
yes.
We mentioned this before, and I just want to, bring it up again. The fact that normal rates, I mean, I remember when I bought my home in 2004, my rate was 5.4, and, continued like that for a long time. So these are basically normal rates. What we saw 2 and 3 were really anomaly. Were not really normal. So, and
that's
as you
not
said,
normal,
if somebody,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
5 and 6 is 5 and 6 is pretty normal. It's the average rate. It's still acceptable, but not as nice as the 2s and 3s that we had before that we're used to. So we kind of spoiled. We got spoiled for a while with those low rates, but now we're up to those rates again. But again, like I said, this is a cycle. We never know how things go in the next couple of years. We might go back down to 4.5 or 5, but for now it doesn't look like that. I think we're going to average in the mid-6s for now. And that's for first mortgage rates. Now, another thing that's happening is over the years, especially in the past 2-3 years, there's a lot of equity that's been built in some of these homes. Some of these homeowners have equities in their properties. And there is a high use of credit card debt that's going on. So that's going to create and that is creating a market for home equity loans. Home equity loans vary from first mortgages. There's some special introductory rates based on the banks that you deal with or the lenders that start as low as 2, 3, 4, 5, 6%, but that's another option to get financing and not touch the first mortgage for to help liquidate some of those equities that are there.
Those loans, though, carry a much higher interest, don't they?
They will carry higher interest rates, but they will be much better than the credit card rates. So
absolutely.
So what we're going to see the next couple of years is going to be a higher demand for second mortgages, and a lot of consumers already are locked into fixed rates are going to find themselves getting second mortgages to help eliminate some of those credit card debts that are coming up. And then it becomes a cycle again, and hopefully the rates will go down. Then they'll combine their first and second mortgages and refinance again in a few years. An average. So the average rate they're going to have is going to be in the 5% and 6% anyway, whichever way you look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, it's a long-term thing. So, and the most important thing is to get into a home, and then the rest can be figured out eventually because it goes up and down.
Yes, and as you know, home prices have been pretty high the past year or so. They've kind of stabilized a little bit, but they're still up there in price. And it's going to continue going up for many factors. Inflation is going to be a major factor. As you know, what you buy now and what you buy next year is not the same price. It's not because the houses are going up. It's because inflation factor is going to factor into that pricing. And there's a lot of demand, and generations are growing, so there's more demand for housing wherever you go.
Absolutely, and inventory is limited, and this is that gap from 2008 to 2016 where new homes were not built. We're still dealing with that gap, as you well know.
Yes, we are still dealing with that gap, but we do have it's kind of slowed down for housing demand right now. Like we said, we're seeing that because of the rates being up, people are just there's a shock, and that's normal. I've seen that happen over the years. for 2 or 3 months, then it becomes the new norm, and you have to move forward. Like I said, housing is like food. You are going to need a place to stay. So that's always going to be in demand.
Absolutely, absolutely. Is there anything I haven't asked you that people need to know, and how can people reach you if they need help?
Well, I think you've asked me pretty much what we need to know for now. In reference to foreclosures, a lot of people are waiting around for houses to be foreclosed on. That's not going to happen. It's not going to be like we had in 08 and 09 where people say they're saying they're going to wait and wait out. It's not going to happen. A lot of these lenders are working with customers and trying to get them into forbearance plans and payment plans so they don't have to go through all of that foreclosure situation. So if they're waiting around for that, that's not going to happen. Maybe if it does happen, it'll be very minimal, and it's not going to be, the prices aren't going to be as competitive. It's got to be market value or more, because there isn't that many supply out there.
Be a correction. Yeah, yeah.
In order to reach me, my phone number is 313-825-4187. Again, 313-825-4187. I'm available for consultation and any advice that consumer is interested in.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I really appreciate it. Congratulations on the appointment. Well deserved. And as always,
so much,
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And absolutely.
Yes.
And thanks to Brigitte, thanks to Imad earlier talking about elections. Thank you guys for listening. And thank you, Mike, for great production. Before I leave you, as always, this is still a great time to sell. If you have a question about mortgages, you can call Brigitte. If you have questions about real estate, buying and selling, and you just want to know what's going on with your property, is it a good time to put it on the market? Is it ready to be on the market? Give me a call, 313-819-0101. 313-819-0101. So, the other day, a gentleman said to me, every time we talk to you, you say this is a good time to sell or a good time to buy, which, well, you know what? It is a good time to sell. It is a good time to buy because you need a place to stay. And no matter how high the interest is, it's still better than renting. Renting is 100%, meaning that whatever money you pay, it's out of the door. You're not getting it back. And rent is very expensive these days. So buying is much better for you, even though the interest rate is higher than it was. But I think it's pretty normal right now, 5 to 6, as Brigitte said. So you're in the market, give me a call, 313-819-0101. Thank you so much, and have a good rest of the day and rest of the week. Bye now.